Sup Dragons, and welcome to this instructional video for Lesson 10 Part 4, Organizations Facing the Problems. The main idea behind this civics lesson is to solve global problems, nations need to participate in international governmental and non-governmental organizations. With that in mind, by the end of watching this video, you'll be able to examine how the United Nations is organized to deal with global problems, explain how non-governmental organizations are helping to solve global problems, and explore factors that can weaken or strengthen the impact of international organizations. Now that the outcomes for this lesson have been shared with you, let's get started. How do people from different countries work together to solve problems facing the world? In many cases, representatives from two or more countries meet to talk about problems. International economic conferences and summit meetings of world leaders are examples of such meetings. However, as nations have grown more interdependent, permanent organizations have also been set up to deal with the world's problems. In this video, you will look at the role of the largest organization of governments, the United Nations. You will also see how private groups are helping to solve global problems. The United Nations, or UN, has 193 member nations, almost every nation in the world. Its constitution, the United Nations Charter, sets forth the rules and purposes of the UN. The UN was created in 1945, at the end of World War II. Its goals are to preserve world peace, to promote justice, and to encourage international cooperation. Since 1951, the headquarters of the UN has been in New York City. The UN has 6 main parts: the Security Council, the General Assembly, the Secretariat, the Economic and Social Council, the International Court of Justice, and the Trusteeship Council. As you will see in this video, in some ways the UN is like a national government. However, it is not a super government. It does not have sovereignty over its member nations. The most powerful arm of the UN is the Security Council. It has the power to take action to keep the peace and help settle conflicts that break out around the world. The Security Council was created with 5 permanent members: the United States, the Soviet Union, Great Britain, China, and France. They were the 5 most powerful countries at the end of World War II. Russia now holds the Soviet seat. 10 other members are elected to 2-year terms by the General Assembly. For an action to be approved, 9 votes out of 15 are needed. When the UN was created, none of the big 5 countries wanted to give up any of its power. Therefore, each has veto power in the Security Council. If a proposal is vetoed by one of the big 5, it is defeated, no matter how many members voted for it. When a war breaks out, the Security Council may send a peacekeeping force to the trouble spot. The job of these UN soldiers is usually not to fight, but to help settle the conflict and make sure that both sides go along with the agreement. The Security Council may also ask member nations to stop trading with the warring countries, or perhaps to break diplomatic relations with them. Every member nation has a vote in the General Assembly. Problems anywhere in the world can be discussed there. The General Assembly also decides how the UN will spend its money. The General Assembly cannot make laws that must be obeyed. It can only make resolutions or recommendations. However, General Assembly resolutions can lead to international agreements. For instance, over 160 nations have signed the Montreal Protocol, an agreement to end the production of CFCs and other ozone-depleting chemicals. Like any government, the UN needs a bureaucracy to carry out its daily tasks. People from over 150 countries work in the UN bureaucracy called the Secretariat. They translate documents, prepare reports, and provide services to UN councils and agencies. The Secretariat has 25,000 workers in New York and in UN offices in Geneva, Vienna, Nairobi, Rome, and The Hague in the Netherlands. The Economic and Social Council works to improve standards of living. The Council has representatives from 54 countries and works closely with a number of UN agencies, such as the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. UNESCO supports education, science, art and culture, and communications. It has helped developing nations set up radio stations and newspapers. It has scientific projects to study Earth's crust, atmosphere, and water supply. UNESCO also sets up exchanges of teachers and students between countries so that people of different nationalities can learn about each other's cultures. In addition to agencies, the Council works with UN committees like the United Nations Children's Fund, or UNICEF. The goal of UNICEF is to give food and health care to needy children throughout the world. The judicial branch of the UN is the International Court of Justice. Often called the World Court, it is made up of 15 judges from 15 different countries. The judges elected by the General Assembly and the Security Council hear cases on international disputes. The Big Five countries have permanent seats on the court. World Court judges work with a growing body of international law. Like common law, it is made up of long-standing customs, such as allowing freedom of travel on the seas. Treaties, UN declarations, and World Court decisions are also part of international law. The judges' decisions are by majority vote. However, a country does not have to accept what the court decides. Only 62 countries have agreed to accept all court rulings. The United States does not accept the court's decisions as binding. As countries become more interdependent, though, the court may play a growing role in getting them to settle conflicts peacefully. When the UN was formed after World War II, there were still some territories that did not have governments. The job of the Trusteeship Council was to help govern them until they were ready to become independent nations. Today, all of the original 11 trust territories are independent or have become parts of other nations. Therefore, the Trusteeship Council has suspended operations. The UN and other organizations of government are not the only groups working on global problems. There are also private non-governmental organizations, or NGOs. They meet many challenges, from protecting human rights to working for arms control. Some NGOs protect political and economic rights. Amnesty International, for instance, calls attention to violations of the rights of political prisoners. CARE and the Red Cross help victims of war and natural disasters. A wide variety of religious organizations work on issues such as protecting human rights and combating hunger and disease. Private groups deal with other global problems as well. Greenpeace, an environmental group, takes on many challenges, from preventing pollution of the oceans to stopping the unnecessary killing of whales and other animals. A group called Doctors Without Borders was awarded the 1999 Nobel Peace Prize for its dedication to providing medical care to war and disaster victims worldwide. Many Americans have become involved in groups that are trying to solve world problems. What these people share is an awareness that global issues and local issues are becoming one and the same. For organizations to be successful in facing global problems, countries have to be willing to work together. There has to be some give and take. However, there is a limit to what each country is willing to give up. Nations are not likely to give up any of their political power. When a country's security is at stake, it usually wants to make its own decisions. It is not surprising then that the UN has had trouble stopping conflicts. When a war breaks out, UN peacekeeping forces are sent only if both sides agree. Also, a dispute can come before the World Court only if the parties involved agree. Countries are most willing to work together when it does not mean giving up power. For this reason, the UN and other worldwide organizations have had some of their greatest successes dealing with economic rather than political problems. Teams of experts teach farmers better ways of preparing fields and raising crops. International agencies help countries build dams and railroads, start businesses, and enter into world trade. Countries tend to cooperate best in smaller, regional organizations such as NATO and the Organization of African Unity. Members of such groups usually have more in common than do members of worldwide organizations like the UN. As countries gain more experience in working together, though, and as people's awareness of the world's problems increases, the countries of the world may become more willing to turn to worldwide organizations to help them solve global problems. So that's the way it is with Lesson 10, Part 4, Organizations Facing the Problems. At this point, you should know that each part of the United Nations serves a specific purpose to help the organization achieve world peace, and non-governmental organizations also provide assistance in solving specific problems within the world. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to have the entire catalog of civics videos available at your fingertips. Click the subscribe button, then click the follow bell to receive notifications as to when the channel is updated. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in class, Dragons.